city staff here is doing a great job, but most of us here have never developed an explosive growth community, right? But there have been other cities that have. Right, and so we brought that in, and we know who to call, we've got smart people who we can call to help. So I think it makes sense. The word is scary, we'll call it scary, but, you know, if we could put in maybe a process where they at least maybe submit a letter of intent, and then you can come back, I don't know if that's quarterly, and say, hey, just so you know, here's the status of the skill policy. We've got 3 letters of intent on file. It doesn't start the clock, but at least if we have an idea of really what we are holding up. Because at the end of that skill plan, you're opening up the floodgate, and you've got to be prepared for what's going to be in the future. So, you know,
but those letters of intent will help us.
Right, so you'll know.
That's
you know,
an excellent point.
Yeah, and so, you know, Brad's point about it's inexpensive and that's why they're coming, they're also coming from different paradise. So, you know, you've got the Texas growth model, you've got the coastal growth model, you've got a great community, and by the way, it's cheap. So let's kind of write the things that we can't take away what's happening in Texas or what's happening on the coast, or we've got a great community. What we can't take away is the cheap and not put that burden on our residents.
And to be very clear, if Gene owns a lot in the country club and he decides to go build on it, you go build on it. The infrastructure is there. If, you know, Jeff wants to open a new business downtown and there's a vacant lot destroyed from parking, all the infrastructure is in the ground. You're going to be able to build your small business there. Would it stop a Home Depot for a little while? Yeah, we don't have the infrastructure for that right now. We don't have a plan for that. But it will promote infill, which is what we need.
Your fee of service is easier to build.
We have the ability to serve them now. It's difficult, but when someone comes in and they want to develop, they come here and we want to sit down, we want to go over their plan. And, especially if someone comes in, I own this piece of property and I'd like to develop it. We jump through hoops to try to accommodate. But we had one that came in a few weeks ago and we flat had to say, we can't do their needs. They wanted, half a million gallons of water a day.
We said we can't meet your needs without a $46 million investment.
Right.
So if they were willing to pay the $46 million, they could go build. We can't tell someone, we have a CCN for water and sewer for most of this peninsula. CCN is certificate of, that gives us some level of requirement to serve water and sewer. If we can't, we have to let them out of our CCN. And if it's available, we have to serve them.
Also, our wholesale provider wanted $225 million to bring the water.
This a million times. The city is not a profit loss center, but we should be making money on water and wastewater at a minimum profit. And we don't have yet, because it's user based. So your ad valorem taxes are, honestly, we gotta get more sales tax coming in here. And more residents aren't gonna be.
Is this going to be funded out of this year's budget to do these, in fact, not the first one we just did, but to do the other? So if we do a 12-month moratorium,
Well,
push it out 25, 26 before we get some study of that?
What I'm gonna propose is we at least get started in-house. These guys know what they're doing, they know what we need. Let's start there. But if we push some of these capital items out, then that might free up some room for the professional studies that we need. So, yes, but those big professional studies, they're gonna take a year or 18 months. These guys gotta get started. They gotta get started in their office with a map and their brain. Everybody in this room is brilliant, and they know their job so well. And I trust them to put together a plan that's gonna work for us. So maybe in 12 months, we have our in-house plan, and we've hired a consultant to work on that off of what we've started. No, 12 months is not enough. You know, if you want everything done to a T, you're gonna have to say 2 years. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's reasonable or fair. But Chief can get started on his plan. You may not necessarily need to hire a consultant. Gene might be able to do his entire parks plan in-house based off his CIP plan. Like I said, these guys can at least get started. And then at the end of 12 months, we can look at it again, or 6 months, whatever you guys decide, right? Or not, but.
What's our timeline for making a decision on this?
You can make that decision.
Thursday?
I would like for y'all to tell me, hey, this is brilliant, and we've never heard such good stuff.
And I'll hire her on her first year anniversary?
You didn't bring cake, so, you know, it's not something I'm gonna force your hand to make a decision on. You guys need to think it through, you need to, consider all the traps. Here's the deal, now that I've said it, if we're gonna do it, we gotta get it done. Because if the decision's Thursday, there's someone out there that's gonna go submit on Wednesday. So it needs to be a pretty short timeline. I would really love to have it on the 8th agenda. You know, that's a public input opportunity and a short timeline for a decision.
Is that an ordinance? Is that what we,
Go ahead.
no, is that an ordinance? What is the action? Is it-
Don't know, never done a moratorium, but I will have it together by the 8th, I promise. Let's go get the Skittles. I will have Skittles, I'll have Skittles completed by the 8th.
2 weeks.
There you go.
You did the moratorium on the RVs, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So, all right, well, that's what I'm proposing. Now, hey, guys, let's talk about utility rates. Are there any more questions? Just, yeah, email them in. We're, again, I am pretty, this is my suggestion, so I'm gonna defend it, but that doesn't mean that I can't be convinced that there's a better way to do it, and I think happy to hear it, so. All right, utility rates, rate increase. This is where we are now. This is where we need to go to support the CIP. Would anybody like to discuss those?
This is just an increase to fund the CIP. This is not a water rate increase from Sandback.
I've not heard their, you were gonna get with them, have they?
They usually give us something in January when they do the rate increases. They're on
They give us something, like they start discussing, then become effective till January, but they do discuss it before the.
Because I know when I got here last year, we had the number, so.
When I talked to the gentleman that called me regarding something else, I asked him if they had started that discussion yet, and he said they were a couple weeks out. That was 2 weeks ago. He said that they were a couple weeks out from discussing that at their budget meetings.
Danny Cox is your representative on that board.
Okay. So we have not factored in any water increase.
But I don't want to see us do a CIP increase for water and then Sandback and say we've got a 30% increase in water rates this year.
So we have, and I failed to bring the budget calendar, but we have. Do you remember when we're supposed to adopt our utility rate report?
The public hearing is the 8th, and
So we will have that information before the 8th. Any water-based water increase is gonna have to be included in that. If they increase it on us, so we're gonna have to pass that.
The budget calendar.
Oh, thank you so much.
yeah, because the public hearing is on the 8th, and then we have 2 readings for all these.
So we do the first reading at the public hearing.
Yes.
We do the first reading at that meeting. Because what happens is it falls in conjunction with the beginning of the budget year, so the rate increases don't actually happen, if I remember right, until the November 1 billing process.
have to present y'all a budget then too. It's gonna be great.
Do you have, maybe we bring it back, but I seem to remember a graphic that was showing our utility rate, kind of increases over the last handful of years. So for me, I look at this and I'm like, it's okay, but I don't,
Yes,
like, how much did, okay.
that's in the Gagon study, I think.
And the,
Is it not Gagon?
not the debt service.
Nugent study.
Nugent study.
So like gas, I mean, if we increase, $13, last year, did we increase
Okay.
$13 or, how much was the year-over-year increases?
I'll have that for you before Thursday.
Okay, you're understanding my
Yes,
my
ma'am.
numbers? Okay.
They usually do that every year. They usually get I think that sounds like.
That's kind of what I was thinking, I can see the graphic.
I will have the last probably 5 years and 3 going forward draft for you before Thursday.
Okay.
And I'll actually email it to you before then, so you can see it. Okay? All right, so are we comfortable just taking the CIP and setting it aside while we mull over all this other stuff that I've dropped on y'all today? Yes, no,
Drop the
anything?
big bomb.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, if, CFP, we have to look at that, I mean, like, we like,
So
keep done and then talk a little more.
we'll talk about this later. I think we talk about this in conjunction with the Skittles, because Skittles affect CIP. Okay?
That's fine.
Right, so are we okay putting that aside, or is there something somebody wants to grab onto in that? Okay, great. Now let's talk about new request.
Well, hold,
Okay, nope, don't,
So setting it aside for Thursday's workshop, or setting it aside for future 2 weeks from us?
Thursday. No, let's
Okay.
revisit it Thursday. I know we're probably gonna get through this all in one day, but I'll probably ask you back for at least a couple of hours on Thursday. And then we'll go through the CIP then, we'll have time to have mulled over all this information. Because I'm about to show you new requests, and y'all are gonna need to look at those and digest that, and there's a lot that you've been given right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So let's talk about new requests.
Do I have a,
I do not have a slide. No? Oh, it's in your book. Oh,
oh, these are budget requests, these are not the same thing.
same thing, but these have been prioritized by staff.
You get bigger.
Yeah. How much smaller can they get?
Gene, let me see your readers, Danielle knows me.
No, I'm good, I'm good. I'm not prepared to admit to that yet.
Okay, so, again, everybody put in everything they possibly thought they would need this year or in coming years, and then they came back and said, okay, we can put these things off another year because we know it's tight. So everything above the black line is kind of the ask for this year. The first one is the Concho Street outfall at the harbor. We know we're all holding on to that. In the event that we are granted an easement, I feel like we really need to have that $250,000 available. That project is not going to drain as efficiently as designed until that piece is completed. This is very important for flooding. Any questions on that? Okay.
Want to confirm that to finish out that project, we have an additional 240,000. And then we pay how much in emergency, the next emergency tie-in? Another 200,000?
Another 200,000.
For our
Emergency tie-in,
Yeah.
or what?
When we were
For
stopped.
Concho, whenever we had to.
Well, we already did that.
No, I know.
He's asking
I'm
how
asking
much
what
it
the-
costs.
The impact.
Yeah, it was higher than this number.
Yeah, so not getting that is gonna be at least $500,000 in,
So our cease and desist letter that we got from partners is costing us $500,000.
approximately.
So
We're working on it. We work to be better every day.
And we can pull that number, it's rate tech. So whatever we paid rate tech is the number that it cost us for the emergency that wasn't incomplete. They pulled the plug in the middle of it. That was supposed to be 2 intersections, and we only did one, pretty much one, and didn't finish the first one.
So this is just a whole dollar amount, assuming we make,
This is the
we
new
get to
quote.
an agreement.
Right, if we don't ever get to an agreement, this never gets spent.
This is the new, actual new quote from the contractor to do the tie-in that is doing the work right now.
And every day we don't do it, it goes up.
Goes on.
So, the second one we alluded to earlier, I'm gonna let Bob talk about that.
Administrator position. 91,000, that includes,
And what's that person gonna do?
network security, network monitoring.
Will they be at the new building?
Not
They'll be here?
here.
And Tommy will be at the new building?
Tommy will be here.
Tommy will be here?
The new technician will be here.
Okay, there you go, sorry.
Desktop support technician. So this network administrator will be Tom. Or is that one for them?
Yes.
And then we're,
We will open up Tommy's current job, which is a desktop support.
so what would the impact be for a desktop support? 65.
So we're paying Tommy as a network administrator.
Yes, that's what,
That's-
so,
Yeah.
so this is,
This is formalizing the position and creating the desktop
the
support.
vacancy for a desktop support.
Correct.
And this is inclusive of benefits. That
Right.
dollar figure is inclusive of benefits.
Okay.
So there's a delta between the two. I think it's important to note that we have 2 people in IT, and they are responsible for Laurel, this place, and then will be the new city hall. So,
Plus the PD.
PD, yeah, PD and comms.
All the stations.
Oh, keep it coming.
And
So-
always have the workstations on a regular basis.
Yeah, our lift stations.
The cell phones, monitor our
All the stations.
So that is why we collectively as a staff have decided that that's our number 2 priority. Okay, what, do we have questions on that? Okay. Number 3, wastewater, force main from First Street to Gagon. Mike,
That's, again, that is critical, a lot of the development on the south side and everything else. When we talk about, we have adequate capacity at the wastewater treatment plant, but we have to get the waste to the wastewater treatment plant. With all the development going on out there, we extended the force main all the way out to Islands of Rockport, and the capacity on that is nearly full. And we have requested development all in that area and everything else, so it's critical that we get this additional force main. And it takes it from First back to Gagon. Gagon is where we have one of our larger, busiest lift stations, and it takes it there. And remember, we have a project going on right now where we have another force main going from Gagon to wastewater treatment plant.
okay. Questions on that? That's a $2 million one.
Is there any, unspent bond proceeds that we utilize in the project?
All the unspent bond proceeds had previously been allocated.
Okay.
If we want to reallocate, we would need to come back to you. But keep in mind, a good portion of those have been spent. There's still a handful to be spent, but
The project in the queue from Gagon to the wastewater treatment plant was a unspent
Is-
bond.
right.
Yeah.
One, so this is the other part of it, and if we're already pulling the trigger to do one, this is how we're gonna extend out. So it'll probably be another phase project, because you need to force main all the way out to 188 at some point.
But there was a fee imposed on all the development from Islands of Rockport to First Street. 2739 per connection was supposed to be put away, to pay for the force main first to Gagon. So that's, it's 1.2 million that was supposed to be collected.
Has, are,
Cost.
But it was like 1.2. Haven't collected that one too.
It's like Concho Street, as soon as they pay all theirs and get theirs built, then that's collected.
Okay.
That's what you were to impact fees. It was
Yeah, but it's
Well,
not
this
an-
was on top
it's not
of-
an impact fee, it was in addition to the regular sewer impact fee that they would pay for that force main in the city.
The city already put that forth, and they were allowed time to do it.
And so those funds collected, we're seeing to go to the next extension from First Street, getting on the pay.
So we could realize some revenues come back to us.
yes, that is correct. Theoretically, we should realize $1.5 million coming back.
Whatever that contract says.
Good info. Number 3, Assistant City Secretary. You want to tell us about it, Teresa?
Yeah,
A little bit earlier. That's what it was for. I changed it. Just to ask you for assistant city secretary, but doing that for going for years, I guess now. In the next one, three, yeah. And rationale is, if I got it, went out and got hit out dust, there's one person in this agency that knows how to figure out who that's people. And she just got thrown a bone with her. So, it's, I mean, it's anybody, anybody can do it, anybody can do it, but do it right. And it is a usually the responsibility of students. And then since I said I want to retire, I would love to see a succession plan for somebody to be able to walk in there and nothing stop, process continue on as soon as it has it.
Okay. Next on the list is Castle of Cops.
Let me,
A gaggle?
or a school, just depends upon the water. I made a quick graph, if you want to pass it around, which just really, it puts the curve of population growth against the curve of manpower growth for sworn officers. The population on that chart is divided by 10, so that they'll be on the same graph, obviously, with thousands of residents versus the handful of officers. So you can see with that graph, it shows you the growth in population, and you can see after Hurricane Harvey, we had a dip in population, but otherwise, it's a relatively constant curve on the population growth. And looking back historically, we've not added officers very often. We added 2 officers in the 10-11 budget, and we added 2 officers in the 11-12 budget. Since then, we really have not added any. The next year, in 12-13, when Fulton began to pay us 1 FTE salary, we added 1 more. And of course, we eat that up by responding to calls for service in Fulton. We haven't added any officers at all since that time frame. Now, that gave us an authorized strength of 26 sworn officers. Now, in 2021, the court system began paying for an FTE salary, but that officer works in the court. We get a little manpower from it, but not much. Again, that officer works 8 to 5 Monday to Friday in the courts. So this request here is for 5 patrol officers. That's a lot, along with the associated equipment, everything that goes with them, uniform, vehicle, computer, firearm, all of those things. A couple of quick numbers. When you look at police manpower, a typical city, you use a ratio, and there's this kind of magical uniform ratio of 2 per 1,000. Now that's your average mid-sized American city. There's a crossing curve for that. Houston is not going to have 2 per 1,000. That wouldn't make any sense. It's going to be down 1 point something, where a smaller city is typically going to have a higher ratio, because at 2 per 1,000 for us or less, you wouldn't be able to man the streets 24/7. And so what we sit on for just our population typically right now is about 2.5 per 1,000. But we're a unique city, as you all know, because we're a tourist destination. And on a weekend, we have anywhere, and I factored in, I used 2 numbers of about 18,000 additional, all the way up to 35,000 when you get to Memorial Day, things like that. And that brings us down to 1.5 per thousand, all the way down to 0.77 per thousand. And so that's why we have an extraordinarily difficult time keeping up with call volumes and doing anything other than going call to call to call. And even that's a struggle when you have a very busy weekend. One of the things that we sort of struggle with right now, and the commitment that I want to make, if any of these positions you're able to fill, and I know we're in a tight budget here, and it may be difficult or impossible to fill any of them. Certainly if you filled all 5, they're not going to be off on the weekends. If we fill 1 or 2 or 3, they won't be off on the weekends. The standard now is what's called the Panama schedule, where it's a 12-hour shift, 3 on, 3 off, 2 on, 2 off. Everybody loves it. It's a great shift. It doesn't work well for where we are right now. And before I got here, we were on 8-hour shifts. And I think that Mayor J-Ro didn't want to vary from that. I think because he understood that we need more people on the weekends than we do during the weekday at 2 p.m. I'm very hesitant to ever talk about anybody that I came in after or anybody that comes in after me. The interim chief that was here, well, I think did great work, did some really good stuff. Unfortunately, he wasn't here long enough to look and see that this is a unique environment. It's not like other cities, and went to the very popular Panama schedule, the 12 on, 12 off. The problem with that, of course, here is I have the exact number of people Tuesday at 2 a.m. as I do Saturday at 2 p.m. and it doesn't work for us. And the efforts that I wanted to make to alter that, I went outside and everyone was stirring a bucket of tar and plucking chickens. And so I held off on that, and so we can keep going with what we're doing. The commitment that I made, because again, it's a popular schedule. And aside from big things in government work is recruiting, retention. I don't want anybody to run off because every other department around us does the popular 12-hour schedules, right? I don't want to lose my good people because we don't offer a good schedule. These new positions, those are going to be filled with another pretty popular schedule. However, they'll be off Tuesday, Wednesday, and half of Thursday, or they'll be off half of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if that makes sense. These officers, and it could be one of our veteran folks that wants to work that standard schedule where they don't have every other weekend off. They have a more set schedule. Some people would favor that. But certainly, these new positions are going to be here on the weekends, so I can beef up that manpower Saturdays and Sundays, Friday nights when we really need it, because that's when everybody comes into town, and I'm sitting at 0.77 per thousand, 0.77 officer per thousand population. That's my quick secret.
Okay, questions for the chief?
And I'd like to say we're really, really good on budget, but 5 cars is not gonna be 50,000.
No, the cars are in another
That
part.
line item.
No, the cars are in another part. That's not the cars. They're in another part of
Okay,
this.
I was like,
No, they're in another part.
we're good, but we're not that
No,
good.
That's equipment. The cars are in another part of this part.
So if you filled all 5 of those positions plus the 1 current vacancy, how much overtime would you usually come down on per year?
It'd be a tough multiple to come up with, but it would come down.
Significantly or just by?
Well,
So, would you like a handful of moratoriums? I think the best answer is somewhere between modestly and significantly. There's going to be times where we can't get out of it, but I think it'll be closer to that significant.
Just wondering the time frame in which it would pay off by just saving an overtime loan, because you're at 175 and you're asking for,
I can tell you that and I think you know this too, the business, the line of work that you're in, sometimes you're more beneficial to use overtime because it doesn't cost you benefits, equipment, things like that. There's some value to that. Some of the struggles I've got sometimes is filling the overtime positions, and because it's a different generation of employee, unlike my generation of it where we ate it up, we worked every bit of it we could, you had to turn people away. Sometimes I have a struggle keeping people because they just want their time off. It's why that schedule, like I would have hated the Panama schedule, but it's a different generation of employee. But to your point, it wouldn't save all of it, but I do think it would save, I'm hesitant to use significant because I don't want to overcommit, but I think it would save a good amount of it, I really do. It'll take time to get there because filling the 5 positions, or even filling 3, I would rather run short than get the wrong people.
Police positions are hard enough to fill, and then when you're trying to make sure you get the right person to fit your department, it takes us 6 months to a year to fill
No,
one position. So I'm just saying, that
It does.
overtime, it could be a little while before all those positions.
And but again, working through numbers like that, if you budgeted, if you filled, say, or if you granted 3 of those, it would take me a while to fill those up, and so that money wouldn't get spent, but overtime would, because they're not filled, so you get this yo-yo effect.
So Chief, besides the 313 for payroll and the 50,000 for equipment, we need to bring the 350 from the bottom up to the top for the vehicles.
Where the vehicles are, that would have to go with.
Then in addition to our, the fleet vehicle replacement,
Because the
Would be.
5 new vehicles.
you
for
need 5 additional vehicles.
And that number is what, Kimberly?
350,000 for 5 new vehicles totaling
Got it.
decked out.
Okay.
What does that do to your weekend officer program?
I pushed that off, to look at, if we get a windfall, we could do something with that later on.
The windfall items are below the black line.
Below the black line, we do that. That's the wish list.
Yep. Okay, so then next we have building maintenance. That's that custodian and supplies for City Hall. Yep. Are we back to PD already?
Code book.
Code enforcement.
And so as we look through the other budget, again, it goes to that there's more work than what the 3 of them can do. There's a lot of issues since Harvey, but just ongoing things, everything from people that aren't maintaining current properties to ones that have continued to lag from significant damage, just to ones that people, they just abandon, they move off from. And so there's just a lot of work out there. We still get complaints, well, how can we not do anything about this? We've called you over and over about this, and our response, unfortunately, is it's on the list. We're working on it. We're going to get to it. And so it boils down to that we could do more with a few more people. And this would, going into span of control, this is for a supervisory position.
Who's current supervisor?
The administrative lieutenant.
We need to move the vehicle up with that too.
We would, but in reality, that's not an absolute. I could fill that position without a vehicle, but they are a mobile, they are mobile personnel. They do have to go out and about. But I can take the person without the vehicle, for sure.
I wonder if, hypothetically speaking, you get more officers, there's no doubt that the administrative lieutenant has a ton on their plate already, but would an administrative position allow the 3 that are currently out there to be more efficient?
It could. It could, because they do their own administrative work right now, and that's a possibility that we could look at. If I could revisit that,
It's a good thought.
work it through.
I hate to put more on lieutenant, I mean, you need somebody to still take the complaints and handle the things that elevate, but that may be more support for the ones that are out there doing the work. Just trying to keep it from more overhead.
I agree, I don't disagree. Let me work through some of that and see if I come up with. Sure.
Okay, Gene, Memorial Park parking lot.
Sure, our concept was to come through the old dog pound. It's right there to the south of it, take the parking off of Pearl Street for safety reasons, and then open up the backside of that park with additional parking. We own that land already. So it would be a safe entrance into the park, we could do the landscaping. You create additional space. We're overly booked when you have Little League and soccer. People are almost fighting over places. I don't know, chief to speak to the safety.
We have some issues, for sure.
Also, if the 3 subdivisions, you're talking about Skittles, if the 3 subdivisions go in on Pearl as proposed, that is going to put a huge number of people on the park right down the street. So, it's something that's been long needed, additional parking for Memorial Park. That's our first shot.
You would access it off the Linden, coming off the Linden.
Off Pearl.
So
You
at the
could use
wastewater
Pearl,
treatment
so
There's
you'll-
about, there's about, what, 100 feet, 150 feet wide. It would take us all the way to Maple's
Yeah,
paved.
Good Street.
And we would put parking back in
The
there.
dog pound is next to the wastewater treatment plant, so.
I am called Rockport.
It's, yeah, it's in Are you going to move some of your old pipe and stuff?
Yes, yes, do that anyway, whether we get the parking lot or not.
Code enforcement said, no.
Move your pipe?
It's a mess right there.
We're gonna keep some trees.
So how much difference is the cost to do, parking like what's at the, I'm calling it the rookery, that might be the wrong name of the park.
Permeable
The
pavers.
rookery?
Yeah, could we do something like that, rather than just straight hard stand?
I don't think there's much cost savings in the maintenance on that permeable block too, like the roof.
I'm not looking for cost savings, I'm looking for not putting in hard stand.
Right,
Yeah.
or you could
I mean,
put,
There is a permeable paper that we're doing some testing with the coastal,
Yes.
coastal events.
Since it would be, I mean,
it would be.
we've got capacity for the normal park, normal days, we don't have capacity for the special events. So if we're gonna be putting in overflow parking, it might be
You
a
could
fit
also
for us.
just grade a new clean sheet. I don't, y'all do clean sheet here?
Yeah.
What do y'all do, oyster shell or, I don't know. You could grade a new clean sheet.
Brad's got experience.
Yeah, they don't do it.
Ordinance, never mind.
I think that's a.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it.
I think that's a big, that's a reasonable ask to evaluate.
We are pushing green infrastructure.
Yeah, so let's be the example on that. Then the other thing I was thinking is, we still have the basketball court cover, that project's never been done.
That's correct.
Would be an opportunity to carry those funds over, not that I don't want to cover basketball court, but
And the last quote that I have on the basketball court is 249, I think it is.
Yeah, we had allocated unspent bond funds for that at 50,000.
I'm gonna have to
And it's
move the walkway.
250.
To accommodate the structure,
Right.
so a little bit of.
So we're putting that on hold.
Skittles. It's on a Skittle.
We're putting that on a skittle.
I don't think it elevates the skill.
Yeah, no skittle. I agree with the basketball cover. And then you're right, we would have 50,000 that we would come back and use that unspent bond fund for if we want to.
So for the benefit of the basketball cover, I mean, the one reason that I could provide some level of support is you really kind of almost have another rentable space for
So
birthday
the
party or something like that.
249 was just for the basketball court. We talked about a side pavilion, I don't think it was a contract. That would be a rentable space and almost a pavilion of some sort.
But even that cost, that still doesn't have the engineering, I thought. That was the buy board price without the windstorm engineering.
I think you're correct.
Yeah, so that would, all of that is why I got to the side. But that's a thought, I mean, if you've got to negotiate doing away with basketball, get a parking lot. Permeable. That's where it's at.
Yeah, in work, then that was smaller, there would be some funding mechanism for drainage infrastructure.
Hey, ask them if they will take that rain garden that doesn't fit and convert it to permeable pavers.
Or yes.
No.
You're getting kind of like, hey, wait.
Yeah, they just keep
Uh,
it.
So the parking area, is that gonna require additional light, from a security standpoint, you got lighting, what's that, what else is your not, what not in it?
That's not it. That's not it. I did think about that too, even thinking about the neighborhood, how they're gonna like the lighting, what kind of lighting, low-level lighting to light the parking lot, not necessarily the neighborhood. So, making it controllable also, which I don't think is a problem.
Is the city, do we public-private partnerships with anything, like, can you solicit a large company that might rent the park every year? I didn't think they, but might contribute to a, hey, well, then the park will have to be.
So we're working on some of those, but we really gotta have someone put the money down. A lot of
Yeah, no,
people
that's
won't.
probably.
But, I mean, it's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
So you
They can rent the park.
you do the, or you do the
There's so many
pavilion, it becomes, I don't know, the skills.
Right.
Coverage.
Mr. and Mrs. Skittles Pavilion. Naming rights.
So you get a naming right to it, but you also write the check for it.
Okay, and I think that's fantastic, but we need a plan. We need a plan and a policy. What are we gonna allow to be named? Who are we gonna allow to be named after?
Yeah, there you go.
How much does it cost? Because if I get to name something. Right, so anyway.
Don't quote me, but I think when we were naming Mentos or Free Parks, somebody wanted to name it after their family member, and it was an ordinance that we couldn't name it after a person.
So we would have to investigate all of that and absolutely get a policy in place. We will-
That lady called me and said she'd go to the bench.
She took the bench instead, okay. So,
Before y'all look too further, what you want to do, work with the county too, because there's a big drainage project going through the middle of that property.
yeah, so,
There, I mean, it's gonna be culverts and big ditches all the way around, 'cause this is the whole effort of coming around the park. And it's probably gonna utilize your park area behind your pond. So there's a lot of things in talking.
I want to see if they'll throw renewable papers in the project.
I don't doubt that it's needed, because it totally is, but as a baseball mom, my parents are gonna park over there and walk through the soccer fields all the way over to the baseball field.
Except when they start getting ticketed for parking on Pearl.
But it will allow me during the baseball times for them to be able to park there. And so the soccer people are parked on the other side. See, so it is going to open up space by taking them in on top of that. Plus the disc golf people want to come in and set 9 holes back in it and pull in the pay for it. So we have a lot of stuff happening.
Okay, you done with that?
Definitely go with what Ryan said, because that would be a great opportunity to maybe have some of that funded
Yeah.
through that drainage project.
But they agree.
Up to date.
David and McDonald's, I think, are working on it. They're ready to do it, some of their ground. They're using, but they're coming right down the middle of that fences, everything coming out.
Are they taking out that tree?
They're going on the right side of it. So there's plans that the city's already agreed to accommodate that, and I don't know what the vision is, but that ditch is to link up with that ditch.
So just we can at least get the plan.
I see you having to cross,
Hoffman.
I see you having to cross that big ditch with it being a bigger ditch and infrastructure as a driveway to get back to the end. Because that ditch is going to be.
So he's gonna call David and see what we can do, and if it's even feasible after the project comes through. Okay, fantastic. Municipal courts, Encode judges packet.
Okay, Encode was upgraded this past year, I believe, but they left out the court package. That court package has to do with my being paperless court that I worked so hard to get. It took me 3 years to make this office a paperless, but they also did not give me the program in which I can scan all the documents to that particular person. They gave me Laserfish. Laserfish to me is outdated, and it takes me forever to find the file because it's all done by
numbers. Even though we have it categorized, it's like you having a parking lot with a car, and you're moving that one car to different parking lots so that I can be able to find what I need at a particular time. What's active, what's inactive, who's on a warrant, who is coming up for pretrial, who is scheduled for trial, is how we move those files in Laserfish. It's not efficient for me to go look up a particular person and find all of their documents underneath that. The program, we have on here 31669, but it's actually 33424. We had an updated information that didn't get on there. Keep in mind, I have warrants that are 15 years old. If I did the work, I'm gonna keep it. I don't get rid of it after 5 years or 3 years. I'm still going to find that person in 15 years. If I've been here a while, they're gonna come back. They love Rockport. But.
4th of July warrant roundup on the page.
Somebody's gonna, yeah, I'm gonna deal with it. But you're also gonna have to remember, we still have 2.8 million that's in collections that would help the PD get officers so that we can collect some of this money. I'm not a collection agency. We have on them that every 7 years, their driver's license, I have holes on their driver's license. It renews every 7 years. Some people don't care about their driver's license. Some people grow up in about 7 years when they can't renew their driver's license, then they pay off their tickets. Am I right?
You're right.
Okay. The other one that we have is Line Marker. Line Marker sends out letters when we put it in there, but they don't go follow up every year, so they sit. We need somebody to actually go through that. They change their driver's license or whatever to update that that's something PD staff does. They have a record.
So Encode is gonna assist you with that?
Encode helps with a lot of this stuff. It helps with all the documents because it's all scanning. It's all sent to me electronically for me to sign versus them printing the papers, and I get stacks and envelopes where I have to sit there and sign them and then get them back and then they rescan them into the Laserfish.
So we pay $720 a year. Does she have one or two?
For what? Laserfish?
Laserfish. How many seats do you have?
Just a quick question, do we have one or two Laserfish repositories? So one repository is for general city stuff. The other repository is for the PD and the court.
Okay, and there's a cost to that is pretty high. That would offset some of this. I know just the judge's seat is $728 a year. I don't know if you have one or two, but so that there would be some offset to go into Laserfish for that. Not a ton, but some.
And the 33,000, is that the first year only?
It's the first year only, and then thereafter, I believe it's 11,000.
So it's the setup and one.
The setup is 21,000.
So then the annual cost becomes 11,000.
To keep in mind with that, a lot of our other city offices and functions are going into Encode. And I'm personally a proponent of Encode and scanning the documents to where they're accessible with what you're looking at, and anything that we buy into Encode is gonna increase efficiency because it's gonna tie in with our accounting programs. So, just a side note. Okay. Parks, second mower, we put this in against Gene's wishes.
2 mowers, and they were part of Dale's B&E replacement where I didn't have mowers that were older than 5 years. The ones we did sell in the auction brought $6,000, so we're getting a good return by rotating them. But since they're not in Dale's replacement program, we needed to add them. I do need 2 mowers.
So we put one in your budget, and this is for an additional.
You got rid of 2, and we only were able to replace 1.
So if Robin gives me the $6,000, I got it. then I can afford both mowers with the 14. So, sorry about that. That was my wishful
Where'd Dale go?
thinking.
We need to call them.
Mowers that we've been buying are $14,000 a piece. I think Gene is looking at something less costly,
Coming in the budget.
but I want to be sure that Dale is on board with, that is what we need to be buying. So we're saying right now, 2 mowers is $28,000. You have 1 in your budget and 14 here now. If you save us some money, that's fantastic. Make sure you don't buy crap.
Just buy a cheap brand.
Count them.
Yeah, it's expensive, you know.
Gene, how much were your, I think there's 32,000. Is that, would that be enough for 2?
Yes, or was it something else? I don't know where the 32 came from.
Where are you
Where you at? Parking.
Is it 18?
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I figured it.
Then parks. Okay, I'm not sure what the question was, but I'll go on. The next thing on there is building administration. Carrie, you want to talk about what that is? We talked about this earlier, but
Yeah, this is the HAP proposal. This came about when a couple of the P&Z members wanted to discuss the possibility of revamping the B1 zone to put a more restrictive commercial zone that abut residential properties, so that you're not putting your gas stations right at the back fence of the subdivision fence. And so when we talk to HAP, and they do that, they will come, but we also want them to do some training with the P&Z and explain to them their duties, responsibilities, the legalities, and all those things. I don't know that we decided to go ahead and discuss the B1 zone. We could, but I don't know if we're ready to do anything with that.
yeah, so we need a buffer zone. Our
Yes.
business zone is too comprehensive. We need to break that up from the bigger to the smaller. So we just need a buffer
Is this
zone, literally.
15 to 25, in your regular budget, did you ask them for P&Z training?
No, she mentioned it there, but it was here.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so everything, the things that we have gone over are what we feel our needs are this year, prioritized. And then everything below that, you can look through that yourself, that's gonna be that's the gravy stuff.
What's the number, the black line above, what is that?
I'm sorry?
The black line above, what's that total number?
Oh, that's a really good question.
And we've got to add the vehicles in there too.
Yeah,
So,
plus 350.
I'll bring that back on Thursday. How about that? I'll add that to my Thursday list.
I mean, some of it may be unattainable, but just, what if that to look at?
That's why we prioritize them, so we can get them as we need them. Okay, so,
And that's all, sorry, one more question. We're gonna have that number for us on Thursday, but I guess we have to move forward with that number, but we may realize 1.5 million coming back from, what's the best way to do that?
okay, here's what I would like to do. If you guys are amenable, where's my tax rate sheet?
Because 1.5 million, that's a good number.
Okay, at this point, I was shooting to go for the. Sorry. Robbie and I discussed this, the voter approved rate, would be fantastic. But I think with the way that it goes down, that we actually should probably look at the de minimis and then use the increment rate, we lose it.
Yes.
Okay, so our current tax rate is 0.37. If we take the increment, it goes down to 0.36. Is that correct? So I'm gonna then propose that we do the unused increment, because apparently we had a little bit we didn't use, and that will bring us another 1,000,017 while lowering the tax rate. What I would like to do is plug that number in with y'all's consent, see where we land from there, and kind of just work off of that number.
And possibly buy down on that INS rate, maybe run another scenario buy on it and buy down.
Yeah.
Just kind of see what it could look like as well.
Yeah, if we could buy it down the INS rate, we could increase our general fund contribution a little bit. So let us fidget with that. Thoughts? Would y'all like to look at more than one option?
I would.
Okay, so can I safely say that the no new revenue rate is not gonna work for us? Because remember, that reduces our M&O.
I think we're gonna have to prove that it isn't gonna work. We've got to go with
Okay, it
Explain
raises
that.
200,000.
Well, can there be cuts within the line items of each proposed budget?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
I think with all of that in consideration through the entire line here, there are some areas, even if it's just allocated for some of these, projects here. To offset needing to raise.
Okay. Well,
These are not.
so no option in front of you raises the tax rate, just to be clear. No option in front of you raises the tax rate.
I think along, go up amongst what's available in the other, not raise the rate itself. But go further along in the available choices.
So you want all four of these?
Like these 3 and 4.
I don't think it is.
So you don't want the de minimis?
I like the.
So you want no new revenue, voter approved, and unused increment?
That's mine.
That's mine as well.
Okay.
I'm okay with that because there's not much difference between the unused and the minimum.
No.
So, I'm good with one of those three as well. So if you're gonna go for the minutes, might as well go for the.
You might as well take
them
them.
because there's very many differences.
Yeah,
But,
and we lose the increment this year.
correct. What I would like to know before we do this is in our previous budgets, it always seems like everything that was budgeted for, when we come back to the end of the year, all that, even when we're seeing that in our line items here, it's not all, hasn't all been expensed. So if we budgeted 50, but they only used 27. So where would that extra money go?
So it falls down into your reserves or the fund balance if it's not spent.
But these are our nuggets that we keep finding.
So have you historically had unspent money at the end of the year?
There's also been some, through CDL that we had not been, we were budgeting for CDL funds, and as our expenses over these last several years have come in line, that's kind of how we funded those CDL projects.
So I don't know how it's been done historically, and I'm not, it doesn't matter to me, because my instruction to these guys is that they're responsible for the budget that you give them, and they're responsible for spending the money they've been allocated to them. If they have money left over, it's because they didn't get something done, and there better be a good reason. That's, I don't know how else to say it. Like I said, I don't know what their direction's been in the past. I don't know that they've had much control over what they do now. It's their responsibility. Which then is ultimately.
I guess what I'm alluding to is if we settle these three rates, then we come back and on September 30, October 1, there's an influx into the general fund.
Fund balance.
Fund balance from
I understand.
23 budget, and we look like, whoop, it doesn't look good.
Right, and I understand, but this year we have a $551,000 shortfall.
Correct.
So we did all that we were supposed to-ish and a little more. Actually, some of it was from our little Easter eggs we keep finding, but, you know, I also believe that you guys are going to have to get the maximum, because again, the reserves are artificially inflated, and so when we start plugging these in, you'll see what those reserve numbers are. And you guys are gonna need more than a $3 million reserve. Because that's a very short time frame of operating funds.
I think that's why we need to see the WRB rate and others plugged in.
You got it.
We believe you, but we've got to be able to show other people what you
No.
just explained, and we would say, this is the ramifications if we go down this path.
I think we're very fortunate in that no matter what decision you make, you're not going to have to raise the tax rate. You know, if we want to do the status quo of business, we've shown you kind of what we need. Everybody gave us their wish list, and then everybody went and kind of cut some more, because they knew we were in a hole. I will give you all of the options. I will bring back the utility rate draft. I'll bring back the CIP, we'll revisit that. We will rediscuss our Skittle program.
One thing I had, well, we talked about the 8th, maybe pretty quick for the skill program. I don't know if that gives you enough time to discuss with constituents. I mean, I know how a lot of them are going to feel. And I feel comfortable with that, but that's pretty quick. With everything else that you've got, probably the agenda here.
You also said it's going to be a 2-meeting grid, so the 8th would be,
We've got to
first
get it
public
rolling.
and discuss. We've still got 2 more weeks.
I do not know. Listen, I'll find out.
Requirement 15-day notice, so that 8 you're not giving us.
I will find out everything. If you guys are amenable to it, it will be done, and it will be done correctly, and it will be done to the letter of the promise.
I'm perfectly fine with
The
this.
8th may not be possible.
But we're going to talk about it Thursday, right?
Right.
And
I mean, if
Thursday,
you-
we'll give them direction.
Yeah.
To move forward, not move forward.
If you guys told me to take a hike, I'm not gonna spend any more time. But now that you're amenable, you at least wanna explore it, I'll put my time into it, we'll have it down, we'll have it, you know, I will know, and it may not be possible. If it is, I wanna get it on there, so that we don't have everybody and their dog turning their stuff in, because they know what's coming. So,
That's just like, after we need you to give the first, we put that average household cost of each option, please.
absolutely, we talked about that.
Yeah, that was something we did last year, that was good.
That's good. Like next Tuesday night's agenda, that's part of what's required in meetings. Like, when you're adopting the do not exceed rate, your whatever rate you're doing, it has to be part of it.
Yeah, so we're being asked to adopt a rate before we know the rates. I have to present you a budget before we know the end. It's absolutely ridiculous, but here we are. We're gonna bring back the cost of a codes administrator, if you think that would be a viable option. I'm gonna bring you the total above the black line. What else have I committed to show?
I guess.
Okay, the total above the black line. Ready? I'll do it formally. $3,587,064.
2587064.
There you go.
3.6.
Boom.
3.6. Again, I would formalize it so you have it. What else have I committed to bring, or that someone has outstanding that we can do for you?
The big issue, is there value to look at anything below the black line? I mean, is there gonna be some magic money fairy with the appraisals all magically getting fixed?
Here's what I contend, if the magic money carry shows up, we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
You know, we can spend a lot of time on these things. What I would like to see our guys do is start spending some time looking for grants, and start plucking these things off of this list.
But these aren't in any specific order, they're just listed by-
Above the line is ordered, is prioritized. Below the line, no, it's a toss-up.
Okay.
Loop 70 Shell Ridge is in the grant application now.
Okay, there you go. Loop 70 and Shell Ridge, right here, it's already in the grant application.
Yeah, it's sitting there.
I got guys wanting
Not
to
funded.
right now, so I mean, the range paid for.
It's
Well, and
just,
yeah, I was thinking we go on about that. The county's gotta get out of this. County can respond. Things are breaking.
okay, should you need anything from me or anybody in this room between now and Thursday, please email them directly, let me know, we'll get you answers to any questions you may have. We're here for that.
Oh, good, the 1.5 million for the, tie into the, board meeting. Which were you at?
Tell me again.
So, development fees, as developer ties into that fourth thing, running south, we should realize 1.5 in revenue.
It might take 10 years.
Well, some of it's like the Islands of Rockport.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're gonna look into that, but that's not a quick,
So that's not something we would,
it's a build-out revenue. But it needs, if it's been allocated in a development agreement to that line, we've got to pluck out those numbers and dedicate them to that line.
In the past, it was part of the finance side was finding that money. It's going to consistent now, over time.
Been allocated elsewhere.
Well, and that's the things that we're doing this year. We are identifying every dollar and where it's supposed to go. And it's been a very big project, and I apologize it's not done by today.
And just in addition to that, not really on the budget, but the council has approved a bunch of street navigations. That money, we've got over 25,000, another 15. That money goes into the street, it is restricted to that only. Has that been done that way? Is there a revenue stream that shows that? From those, I mean, it's not just FYI, this thing, we're finding things as we go, but that money is restricted, strictly used for street maintenance. And that's the legislation.
Got it. So,
Mayor, is it appropriate to suggest a motion to adjourn?
I'm looking up and down to see if I hear anything else.
second.
We're adjourned.
There you go.